We know it's a jam-packed election eve for both of these presidential candidates, and we are hearing words of optimism, and that optimism is, in fact, the word of the day for Trump and for VP Harris. But only one can win. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. His supporters lined up early this morning to hear from the Republican nominee in Raleigh, and we showed you quite a bit of that. And later today, Trump has 2 stops in Pennsylvania and will end the day in Michigan. On the other side of the aisle, Vice President Kamala Harris will spend her entire day in Pennsylvania, hitting 5 cities. It's her 18th trip to that state since she became the Democratic nominee. And Vice President Harris will have a host of celebrity guests with her. Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Fat Joe, The Roots, Oprah Winfrey are just a few of the famous names. And Harris has gone hard on attacking Trump after vowing a campaign of joy. We've seen the words, the rhetoric, and even her surrogates have stepped in it. Cow patty, that is, right down the stretch here on her behalf, going after Donald Trump and his supporters. Last night, maybe not exactly joyful, but perhaps a pivot.
We have an opportunity in this election to finally turn the page on a decade of politics driven by fear and division. We are done with that, and we are exhausted with it. And America is ready. America is ready for a fresh start, ready for a new way forward.
Kamala Harris's rallies yesterday were the first where she did not mention Trump by name since she became the Democratic candidate. Power panel now, Doug Collins, former Republican congressman from Georgia, host of the Doug Collins podcast, and Patrick Murphy, former Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania. And you salute, and we thank you for your service. Gentlemen, that was a lot on the border. And when you look at that, Doug, I'm going to go to you first. He knows the issue for many people, and that's in the top 2, is immigration.
It is. And if you hear him speak, and I was with him last night, he will talk about the economy and inflation, but he believes that the border is actually more important in his mind. And he talks about this because he says he sees it as a life and death situation. Just like we just had in Habersham County, 20 miles north of my hometown, a person killed by an illegal immigrant who was there. And this was just in the last few days. We've seen it in Laken Riley's case. We've seen it over and over. We see the drugs pouring in. So his mind is, this is a safety issue. This is something we can fix. And it's also something that he did fix. This was saying and what we did during his administration was close that border down, shut the immigration flow down, get Mexico to cooperate. This is where he's going back to. And he says then it stems off to the other economic and inflationary issues.
You know, Patrick, when you see a shift again, because the joy, I was there on the floor at the DNC. And at the RNC. These were 2 palpable, joyful places right after the former president had nearly been killed in Butler, Pennsylvania, the RNC. And then for her, I mean, she's suddenly the party's nominee after Joe Biden steps aside. A lot of joy. But she went on the attack, and one of the key political action committees told her that stop attacking Donald Trump. Now she goes someplace else. Who is she?
I think she's been a leader that's kept our family safe as a prosecutor, as an attorney general, as a senator, and now as the vice president. And I do think she's right in that she wants to turn the page. And there's a new generation of leaders hopefully going to lead our country. Is
it fair to say she's trying to turn the page, though, on her own campaign week to week? I mean, that's what we're seeing. So I don't know. Is she listening more to the PACs or to her team?
I think she has incredible instincts. I think Doug and I, we ran and won races before, the bases are mobilized. The bases are out there. I think it's a battle for independents. Independents are tired of the political ads. They're tired of the negativity. And that's why people, but people.
I watch football.
Right, yeah, I know. But
both candidates all weekend
long. But I will say that people do want to turn the page. And I think that's why they're resonating with when she's saying country over party. She has Republicans supporting her, and that's what people want to see.
So I want to talk to you, though, about some more of this rhetoric and really how much damage it can do going down the stretch if you're still struggling to define a candidate in many places like Kamala Harris reportedly is. Critics are going after New York's Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul, the latest of the several Democrats to insult Trump supporters, ones who are actually her own constituents here. Watch.
If you're voting for these Republicans in New York, you are voting for someone who supports Donald Trump, and you're anti-woman, you're anti-abortion, and basically you're anti-American because you have just trashed American values and what our country is all about over and over and over.
One person asked, what's more American than voting for the candidate you feel best represents you? Another with, not that long ago, politicians slung mud at each other. Today, they seem to be slinging the mud directly at the voters. And one more here. I don't know the Democratic Party anymore. They're all unhinged. I have never voted Republican in my life, but I did this year. The New York Post cover with some signature wordplay, Gov and hate. Oh, wow. Well, first of all, just the idea of being anti-American. Governor Hochul, what is she thinking? There are many members of our armed services who vote all sorts of ways. You're one of them. No one can ever look at you and say you're anti-American because for whom you vote.
Right.
You've served.
Right. We both served, and we both served in Iraq. And I would say that that's what people get frustrated about, because folks who are bashing voters voting. Listen, my best friend, the godfather of my son, is voting for Donald Trump. I try to work with him. I try to talk to him. But you know what? He's an American. I don't love him any less just because he's my brother, right? And just like Doug and I disagree.
But at least you tried. Is that what you're saying?
I did try. Listen, I was texting a mom that I coached her kids in hockey about who would best secure our country. And I said, Kamala Harris. I told her why, right? But I do think, listen, we're passionate. People are fighting for their values.
Yeah, but you don't call people in a voting process, especially as the governor of the state of New York, un-American, anti, not even anti. Like you're not just not an American, you hate America. You're anti-American. Why even say that?
I'm not apologizing for that, Governor, right? But it's not Kamala Harris saying it. And she has said, and repeatedly, that she wants to unite all Americans. And I don't think, honestly, Harris, you're seeing that from Donald Trump. He's not trying to unite people. He has the enemies list.
Did you see the free NFL and NASCAR ads last night? That he got put back, Doug, for a free one because NBC shouldn't have let her do SNL and not invite him too. That was an FCC violation, particularly this close to an election.
It is, and after the election, I'd love to come back on here and discuss what is the toothless FCC going to do about this, because they could actually start enforcing this kind of stuff, because you're seeing it more and more. Campaigns will play it right up to the edge, and yes, they got to run those ads. Would you have ever believed at this point in the campaign that the Republican candidate Donald Trump is running an ad in which you see Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you see Tulsi Gabbard, you see others. If you want to see a mosaic of America, look at a Donald Trump ad. That's the mosaic of America. And I think that's what we got to look at as we go further here. But again, and I agree with Patrick on this is one area of agreement. Anti-American, voting is not anti-American. And if the governor of New York thinks that that's anti-American, maybe she needs to decide if she ever wants to run again, because that's just a problem with the very voters. I love what you said. I love what was said, though, by one of those people. They said that they've started going after the voters. I've never thought that was a good idea in a campaign. The voters always get the last say.
Well, look, Hitler is not a way to unite people. And I used to live in the state of Minnesota, so I know their politics at least okay. I don't live there any longer, but I watch. The governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, called Republican supporters of Trump Hitler for going to his rally at Madison Square Garden. He called them Nazis, rather. I mean, how do you even do that? How does that help your candidate? How does that help to unify the country?
Yeah, listen, and I think, J.D. Vance referred to Donald Trump not as his running mate, as him too.
Well, what about the snark that your party, through your VP candidate, has hurled now at the LGBT community? I mean, oh, so-and-so is this or so-and-so is that. I mean, I know it's late stages and maybe they are deficit on sleep, but that doesn't represent you.
And that's not an excuse. That doesn't represent me and most Americans. And I will say that's why people want to turn the page. They are tired of the division. They're tired of the campaign ads.
Your side is driving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donald Trump just talked about getting Liz Cheney firing squad the other day, Harris.
That is not what he said.
Not exactly. I'm paraphrasing.
I'm not going to let you
But he said
it's not even a paraphrase, Patrick.
So,
look, we disagree.
He said,
Bill Maher has
You and I actually raised our hand and we went to war. Liz Cheney never has. That's what he was talking about.
All right.
End of statement on that.
But you shouldn't have said that. That was hateful.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. And thank you both for your service. I didn't know you guys were both in Iraq.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.